July 8, 2014. Varna Airport, Bulgaria. A man in a yellow shirt bolts from a medical office, leaving everything behind. He sprints across the parking lot, scales an 8-foot fence, and vanishes into the woods. No trace of him has been found since. This is the story of the man behind the internet's most haunting mystery. This is the disappearance of Lars Mittink. To understand what happened that day at the airport, we have to go back to the beginning of a holiday that started like any other. 28-year-old Lars Mittink arrived at the Golden Sands Resort with 5 school friends for a standard summer getaway. His friends described him as being in good spirits, enjoying the sun and the football culture he loved back in Germany. But on the night of July 6th, things took a dark turn. Lars became
On June 14, 1969, a routine family camping trip turned into one of the most baffling mysteries in American history. 6-year-old Dennis Martin was enjoying Father's Day weekend with his family in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. The area was Spence Field, a popular spot for hikers and families, known for its beauty and rugged terrain. Dennis and his siblings decided to play a prank on the adults, hiding behind bushes to jump out and surprise them. While the other children jumped out, Dennis didn't. In just a few seconds, he had simply disappeared. His father ran to the spot immediately, but there was no sign of the boy. No tracks, no noise, just silence. A massive storm hit the area shortly after, washing away any potential tracks and complicating the initial search. What followed was the largest search and rescue operation in the park's history, involving thousands of volunteers. In a strange turn of events, Green Berets and Special Forces reportedly joined the search, a move rarely seen for a missing person. Some witnesses in the area claim to have heard a high-pitched, terrifying scream echoing through the trees that afternoon. As days turned into weeks, the searchers grew exhausted. The dense brush and steep slopes of the Smokies proved to be a formidable opponent. Miles away, another family reported seeing a rough-looking man carrying something over his shoulder, fleeing into the brush. The Key family's report was particularly chilling. They were miles away at Sea Branch when they saw a man carrying a bundle, appearing to hide from them. The FBI and local authorities investigated every lead, but the case grew colder with each passing day. This sighting led to one of the most unsettling theories, that Dennis might have been taken by someone living off the grid in the deep wilderness. The Martin family spent years searching for answers, but Dennis was never found. No clothing, no remains, nothing. Others point to the park's wildlife. While bears and boars are common, the complete lack of physical evidence makes this theory equally hard to prove. His case has since become a focal point of the Missing 411 series, highlighting strange patterns in national park disappearances. The Dennis Martin disappearance fundamentally changed how the National Park Service handles search and rescue operations today. How does a child vanish in seconds in front of his family? The questions surrounding Dennis Martin remain unanswered. His story serves as a haunting reminder of the mysteries that still linger in the deep woods of the Smokies. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more deep dives into the world's most mysterious cases.
July 10th, 2015. A day that began with a family camping trip and ended in one of the most chilling mysteries in modern American history. 2-year-old Dior Kunz Jr. disappeared from Timber Creek Campground in Idaho. In just the few moments his parents looked away, he was gone. Timber Creek is remote, rugged. It's the kind of place where nature is beautiful but unforgiving. But Dior didn't just wander off, he vanished. He was with his parents, his great-grandfather, and a family friend. They were all there, yet no one saw him walk away. No one heard a sound. The window of time was impossibly small, less than 5 minutes between when he was last seen and when the panic began. Just silence. The parents were just yards away at the creek. They believed he was with his grandfather. The grandfather believed he was with them. In that gap, he was lost. Search and rescue teams arrived quickly. Hundreds of volunteers, helicopters, and drones scoured the mountainside. They expected to find something. Anything. Cadaver dogs alerted near the reservoir, but it was a false lead. Human ashes had been scattered there recently, masking any true scent. It was the first of many dead ends. More tracking dogs were brought in. They couldn't find a single scent trail leading away from the campsite. It was as if he never touched the ground. There were no footprints, no torn clothing, no signs of an animal attack, no blood, no remains, no drag marks, nothing. He simply ceased to exist. Investigators ruled out an animal attack beyond a reasonable doubt. A predator leaves a mess. In this case, there was only pristine, undisturbed wilderness. Abduction was considered, but Timber Creek has only one way in and one way out. No unknown vehicles were seen, and no one saw a stranger in the woods. By 2016, the investigation shifted. The parents were named persons of interest. Shifting stories and failed polygraphs led many to believe the truth was closer to home. Private investigators suggested an accidental death and a subsequent cover-up, but without a body or a crime scene, these remained theories, never proven in court. As recently as late 2024, a small jacket was found in the area, but DNA results were inconclusive. A decade later, and we are still waiting for a breakthrough. The Idaho wilderness keeps its secrets. Dior Kunz Jr. remains missing, leaving behind a haunting void and a question that refuses to be answered. Where is he?
Some mysteries are solved with a single piece of evidence. Others, they simply vanish into thin air. On May 14, 2008, 19-year-old Brandon Swanson was driving home in rural Minnesota when his world took a terrifying turn. Brandon was a student, a son, and a friend. He was just 30 miles from home when he drove his car into a ditch. At 1:54 a.m., he called his parents. He wasn't hurt, but his car was stuck. He thought he knew exactly where he was. His parents, Brian and Annette, rushed out to find him. For the next 47 minutes, they stayed on the phone with their son. They flashed their lights. Brandon said he saw them, but they never saw his. They were miles apart, and they didn't know it. Frustrated, Brandon decided to leave his car and walk toward what he thought were the lights of a nearby town. He described his walk, crossing fences, trekking through fields, even hearing the sound of running water nearby. Then, at 2:30 a.m. mid-sentence, Brandon suddenly shouted 3 words that would haunt his parents forever. The line didn't go dead, it stayed open, but Brandon was gone. His father called his name into the silence, but no one answered. For several days after, Brandon's phone continued to ring when called, yet he was nowhere to be found. Police later discovered a chilling discrepancy. Cell tower pings placed Brandon 25 miles away from where he believed he was. His car was eventually located in a ditch near the town of Taunton. It was empty. The keys were gone. Most unsettling was what he left behind: his glasses. Brandon was legally blind in one eye. He wouldn't have left them willingly. One of the largest searches in Minnesota history followed. Hundreds of volunteers combed 122 square miles. Scent dogs tracked Brandon's trail to the edge of the Yellow Medicine River. Some say they lost the scent at the water's edge. The river was high and freezing. Did he fall in? If he did, the water left no trace of him behind. The leading theory is drowning or hypothermia, but despite exhaustive searches, no body has ever been recovered. Some believe he fell into an unmarked cistern or well, hidden traps in the vast Minnesota farmland. And then there's the possibility of foul play, but there was no struggle, no blood, and no evidence of a crime. No clothing, no footprints, no phone. Brandon Swanson simply vanished into the landscape. At first, police were slow to act. They told his parents that as an adult, Brandon had a right to be missing. His family fought back, leading to Brandon's law, requiring immediate action for missing adults in Minnesota. It was a victory for other families, but for the Swansons, the search for their own son continued in silence. Over a decade later, the fields around Taunton remain silent. The case is a haunting reminder of how easily a life can be lost. But it's that final call that lingers. 47 minutes of hope, followed by 3 seconds of pure terror. The most disturbing mysteries aren't the ones with too many clues. They're the ones that leave none at all. Brandon Swanson is still missing. His story remains a void that no search has ever been able to fill. A young man with his whole life ahead of him, gone in the blink of an eye on a lonely Minnesota road. What do you believe happened that night? Some secrets are meant to stay buried in the dark. In the winter of 2004, a young woman crashed her car on a remote New Hampshire road. What followed remains one of the most baffling mysteries in American history. 7 minutes. That was the window. By the time police arrived, she was gone. No tracks, no clues, no trace. Maura Murray was a 21-year-old nursing student with everything ahead of her. But in the days leading up to February 9th, her behavior turned erratic. She told her professors there was a death in the family, a lie. She packed her bags, withdrew nearly all her money, and headed north. After stopping at an ATM and a liquor store, Maura made one final call to her voicemail. It was the last time anyone heard her voice. She drove nearly 150 miles into the White Mountains. For reasons we still don't understand, she was headed deep into the cold. Around 7:27 p.m., she hit a sharp bend in Haverhill, New Hampshire. Her Saturn sedan spun out and slammed into a snowbank. The impact was heavy. The airbags deployed, and the car was disabled. Maura was trapped in a dead zone with no cell service. This is where the timeline narrows. A local resident hears the crash and calls 911. The clock starts ticking. A passing driver, known as Witness A,
Deep in the Panamanian jungle, two friends vanished, but they left behind a digital ghost story that still haunts